Good morning, everyone. It is once again time to dive into crucial conversations and explore how we can communicate more effectively and with less arguments and problems. We are in chapter 7, State My Path, and today we're going to get through the whole chapter of chapter 7 because chapter 7 does review quite a few things, and it really gives us just a couple tips for what we've already been talking about. Specifically last week and the week before, and we've been talking about our stories, the things that we tell ourselves when there is just crazy stuff going on and we don't know everything. We see a little bit of a fact and we jump to a conclusion and we tell ourselves a stories that goes down a rabbit hole, whether that rabbit hole is correct or not. A lot of times we are correct, but it is not always. And especially when it's not correct, it leads to super tense conflict. And almost all of our crucial conversations that go awry is because we start telling ourselves a story that doesn't match up to what is going on. Now this week we're talking about, now that we know that we tell ourselves stories and we could see that sometimes we make ourselves out to be the victim, or we make somebody else out to be the villain, or we make it so that we're powerless, and we can step back and say, okay, none of those things are true. This is what I'm telling myself. Let's get to the bottom of this. And the first very basic thing that they go at is a big how of you go about these conversations. And that big how is going about the conversations with confidence. You have to be willing to stand up and share what you are thinking and what is going on in you, because the other person doesn't read your minds. Like, that would be, first of all, that would be super creepy, and second of all, just it's not how it works. We don't read each other's minds. And secondly, it is an amazing thing when two people trust each other enough to be able to share that, and you are showing them that you trust them enough to confidently share what is going on in your life. The other thing, so you have to be confident, but not just confident, you also need to be humble. Be willing for your point, for what you are about to say, to not be true, for your story to be wrong, for you to be able to change your mind. Go in there with humility of, this is what I am feeling and thinking. Is this what's going on? What is going on here? With humility. Last year, we had a big class going through a lady who was leading the charge with Christians of understanding LGBTQ, and her big thing was compassion, feeling for the other person without compromise. We're not going to compromise what we believe. We're not going to compromise what we think, but in everything, in every conversation, we are going to have that compassion at the very least, because they're a human being that is lost in that case. And in our case, it's just like the fact that they are messing up. If we are having a crucial conversation, we have the story that we're telling ourselves that something is wrong. We believe that they're messing up, but we are too. There's that compassion, there's that humility of like, okay, I think they are doing something wrong, but maybe I am too. I want to fix the solution, not fix the other person. And with that, they then go into a couple of things that we can do. So what's, and a couple of ways we can do it. How's of sharing our stories. So and we're gonna go through a little bit of a scenario like we like to do sometimes, specifically, and I'll share the scenario before we go through these steps. And I'm only gonna share the way that this ends well. So there's a wife, and she is a stay-at-home mom, and she's going through and checking all the credit card bills and making sure everything's getting paid. And she comes across a bunch of charges that happened recently that are very high priced, and she has been on edge the last couple of months because her husband has been working every extra hour he can, and he has not been at home as much as he used to be. And this is just in the last couple months, and she doesn't feel super close to him. And now with this just big bomb drop of, there are charges that she does not recognize on their card, and they are big. They are hundreds of dollars. And there's even one that's close to $1,000. And she is freaking out. Her husband comes home and, I mean, a person very well might just explode. Be like, what in the world is going on? We can't afford all of this. But she understands, in this instance, how to have a good conversation with her husband to get down to the basics of what is going on. And I will share with you guys what is actually going on with this guy before we dive into how she figures it out. But he has been working every extra hour that he can. He has been putting charges on the card because he is getting ready for their 25th anniversary. And he has a huge, big celebration, a cruise all planned for them. And he has been working those extra hours just to be able to make sure that they can go on this and not lose money. He wants to spend that time with his wife and show her that she is the most important thing to him. But she doesn't know this. This is a surprise to her. And so in both instances, she's telling herself something that is not true. There are charges on this credit card that are big, and he has been distant, but she doesn't understand the reasoning. And he understands that it's been tough on her, but he knows how big this trip will be to her once she finds out the secret, and that a lot of what she's been thinking the last couple months will go away. But until then, there is that question, and now she has seen all these credit card charges. So he comes home, and instead of just railing on him, she brings him the pieces of paper that she has printed out with the credit card charges on them, and very, very calmly and humbly brings it up to him when he comes home and says, "Honey, there's been some charges on our card, and they're big, and I don't know how we can afford these, and I don't know what these are all for. Can you help me understand? Because I don't know what's going on. You've been distant. Are these charges for some other woman? What is going on here?" And very briefly bringing those things in and leaving it there, of sharing her facts first, okay? And I actually did two parts there. But the first thing she did was share her facts. The one thing she does know for certain, there are charges on the credit card that are big. And she has not had a lot of time with her husband recently. Those are two things she knows for sure. And so she shares those facts. The second thing she did right there was she shared her story. She shared what she was telling herself inside. And that is a tough thing to do, to open up and say, like, this is what I'm really thinking. This is what I'm fearing. And to be able to say, this is what I think you're doing with the money. This is why I think you haven't been around me. But that's not the case at all. But in her story, in her mind, she has jumped to that conclusion. And the last thing that she needs to do in the process of stories is to ask for the other person's story. So share, S, tell, T, ask, A. Ask for his story. So at the very end, she says, "Honey, I need to know what's going on. Please tell me what's going on." And of course, the husband comes back, and I mean, the surprise is ruined, but he shares with her the fact that he's been working all these extra hours because he wanted to make sure that their 25th anniversary was something that they would never forget, that they would have this amazing time, that he's had it all planned out, that the kids already know because they know they're going to grandma's for these next couple weeks, and he was going to surprise her with this big trip with some big gifts, and he just wanted to share that with her. And he knows that the surprise is ruined, but he just wants her to know that he loves her. And that ends super well. They get to go on the cruise and have their amazing 25th anniversary. But there is that difference there of the fact that if she had come in with a harsher tone, it might have caused this conflict between, very well would have caused this conflict between the two of them that would have ruined any sort of joy, any sort of resolution that could have come, that would have made it so that they would have had a great 25th anniversary. This could have ruined their entire 25th anniversary, something that he has been working for months to make a possibility. The other two things that she did in how she was talking, how she was sharing her story, is how, and it's things that we have to think about as we are sharing, as we're stating our paths. One is to talk tentatively. You don't know everything for sure. You don't. So talk as if this is what you're thinking and you're feeling, but it is not solid concrete. She's not coming in and saying, you went and you were with another woman and you're just leaving me and you don't care about me anymore. No, she came in very tentatively saying, is this what's going on? This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. This is what the facts in front of me say. Is this what's going on? Talk very tentatively because you don't know for sure. We're not omnipotent. Only God is. And finally, and she very well did this at the very end and how I kind of structured this scenario, but encourage testing. Don't come into those crucial conversations expecting to just win and have your story be the right one. Come in expecting to share your story, share your opinion, but be willing to encourage the testing of your opinion. Now, the more rooted the opinion, the less you are likely to change it, and some of them we shouldn't. Our opinions on gay marriage or sex outside of marriage, of child abuse, like all these terrible things, like those things should not change, and there's really nothing that should change your view on those things. But when you're coming with the scenario that I presented of the fact that there's credit card changes, be prepared to have what you're thinking in the story you're telling yourself, be prepared for that not to be true. Because when we prepare ourselves for that possibility that, okay, what I'm telling myself might not be true, then we are opening ourselves up to not succumb to what the other person is saying, but to find the facts, to find what is really going on underneath, and therefore be able to walk through this conversation and to fix stuff that might be wrong. It's a very thin wire to walk on, and it's not always the easiest. But when we state our path, and if you noticed, share, tell, ask, talk, and encourage, spell out, state. We need to state our path, state what we're thinking in a very simple, very humble manner. Thank you guys for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday as we continue walking through the life of Moses. Bye now.